Welcome to the Mom and ... podcast, the podcast that helps you make your ellipses count. You know, all those ... that come after I'm a mom and. I'm Missy Stevens, a mom and ... writer, foster child advocate, and this week's spring break prepper. It's our last spring break with 2 kiddos living at home.
Aww.
Crazy.
And it's our first spring break with just the 1 kiddo.
Yeah.
Aww.
And now we're sad.
I'm Susanne, Kerns, mom and ... writer, LGBTQ and sex ed advocate. And this week, I've been so busy with work that I forgot that it is spring break next week. And we are doing just the 1 kiddo, dragging him along because we spent all of our spring break budget on sending Zoe to LA with her roommate for an awesome week. So the rest of us are going to Marfa. We're going to Marfa and Big Bend.
One of my favorite trips ever was Big Bend. Yeah, I will have to talk when we aren't on the clock. And I loved it so much.
Okay, I'm going to get notes.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited this week to talk to our guest. And full disclosure, I talk to Charlene all the time because her therapist and Charlene have been instrumental in getting me back into fighting shape. So I get to see her at least once a week, but now we all get to talk to her today. And I'm so thrilled for her to share her knowledge with all of us. Charleen Whipple is a native of Colorado, and she attended Colorado State University and studied sports medicine and nutrition. And then she later went on to go to the Colorado Chinese Medicine University, where she graduated in 2012. And now for the last 3 years, we've gotten to have her here in Round Rock, where she owns The Point Wellness. And we will talk all about that as we go on today. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Oh, well, so excited. And this is my first time meeting you. I don't get to see you every week. So I definitely need, and our audience needs, a Charlene 101. So can you tell us a little bit about your career path and how you got to where you are today?
Yes. So I actually always have been in the sports world. I was a competitive dancer growing up, grew up in a family of all boys with cousins and all of that. So sports has always been my passion. And so when I graduated from Colorado State with sports medicine, I ventured into, do I want to go into PT, OT, chiropractic? And nothing really held my interest until I talked with my current acupuncturist that I was seeing at the time and just fell in love with Chinese medicine and the fact that I can treat the entire body, not just the physical ailments that were going on. It's a mind, body, spirit. And started acupuncture school, which was actually a lot more difficult than I ever imagined. So did that and started in Denver. And then my husband and I moved down here in 2013. So I've been practicing. I did a solo practice for about 7 years. And then in 21, my husband pushed me to open my dream clinic. And we have been open here for about 3 years now.
Very
awesome. Cool. So you mentioned that you had an acupuncturist who piqued your interest in all of this. And the word acupuncture, I think, freaks people out. So absolutely. I wanted to talk a little bit about what it is, why it works, and does it hurt? Because I do it every week. I know the answers to a lot of these questions because I do it every week or every other week. But when I tell people I do it, they're like, oh my God, that sounds so painful. So I want to talk a little bit about the why behind it and what it is, if you can share that with us.
Absolutely. And I'll share a little bit on the Eastern side and the Western side, because sometimes when people hear the Eastern side of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, it gets a little woo-woo for them, a little out there, but there is a good science behind it that people can actually understand, and it's a little bit tangible. So the theory and the basis behind Chinese medicine is that the body can heal itself. We have everything that we need to heal ourselves. We just have obstruction. Those obstructions can be physical, they can be mental, they can be emotional. So our job is to identify those obstructions and break them free. Let the body do what it needs to do. And we do that with a number of things, whether it's cupping for muscle stuff or acupuncture for the internal. We also work with Chinese medicine and herbs. So there's a whole array of things that we can do. So a typical session is usually when an acupuncturist or Chinese medical doctor will identify what's going on based off of your symptoms and all of that. And we usually start out with some muscle work, some palpation, all of that to see where everything is stuck. And then we use acupuncture needles. So I always like to tell people, I actually did this experiment in school because I didn't believe them, but you can fit 30 acupuncture needles in one hypodermic needle that a doctor would use. So that kind of gives you a gauge on how big the needles are. So
Teeny tiny.
yeah, so they're super teeny tiny. You can actually bend the needles. They're not stiff enough or thick enough that they're, you can't bend them. They are pliable. So they are super tiny. And most of the time when we do a traditional treatment with acupuncture, you might feel a tiny pinch when the needle goes in, but after that, you shouldn't feel anything. And most of our patients, Missy, if you can attest to this, most of our patients fall asleep on the table. So yeah, it's very relaxing. It's a very, it works with the energy. So when we talk the Eastern, it helps with the energy blockages, helps open everything up, allow the body to heal and do what it needs to. From a Western side that people can attribute a little bit more knowledge, some tangible to, is when you puncture the skin with a needle, you are actually creating what we call a micro injury. So you are injuring the body. That puts the body into a healing process. So you're creating a micro injury. It actually takes your body out of fight or flight, shuts off that sympathetic nervous system, and puts it into parasympathetic so that the body can heal. Now, that is one of the hardest things for people to do nowadays, just with our society, with everything go, 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 is a lot of people can't shut off that fight or flight system. And acupuncture actually forces the body to do that. So that's one of the ways that it helps the healing process, is that it actually forces the body to shut off fight or flight, because you've now created an injury. So now it's going to go into the rest and restore to help that body.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, so I usually typically think of acupuncture of okay, I have something that hurts here, or it's something that you're trying to heal or recovery. But say you're just one of those people where everything feels pretty good, but
does that person exist?
Yeah, exactly. But aches and pains wise, you're in good shape, but maybe anxiety, or just like you said, they're just a person who lives in the world and, has that fight or flight. So that is something that you don't necessarily have to have an acute pain or something specific, an injury that you're treating.
Absolutely. And those are some of my favorite treatments, are what we call maintenance treatments. You're coming in just to keep everything nice and open and relax and take your mind off of stuff for an hour. And yeah, so definitely for stress and anxiety. I've been diagnosed with high functioning anxiety since I was 18. And it's something that I can tell, when my body gets to that point, I just need to shut off that nervous system so that my body can do what it needs to do and bring everything out of fight or flight.
Ooh, can you acupuncture yourself?
You can. Yes, you can. And I do regularly. I have 2 acupuncturists that work with me, but there are times that I just need to do. And one of the good systems for people who are anxious about acupuncture is called auricular acupuncture. So it's actually all done in the ear. So you don't have to lay down. You don't have to be still, because some people are I can't lay there for an hour, but you can actually do a full acupuncture treatment with just the ear.
Okay, now that might sound even scarier to people. Are you putting the needles in the ear? Where
just
are the
on the
going?
side, right in here. It just goes on the outside. So not in the ear, but where you would get piercings. I'm sorry, where you would get piercings, you can actually do acupuncture.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that for anybody.
Needles in my ears.
And what you can do is you can put them in your eyeball. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, because that might be for some people who are a little hesitant. Yeah, that laying down is kind of a submissive position. If you're no, I still kind of feel in control. If you're seated and kind of do that baby step.
And Charlene gives you a panic button when you're lying down.
I love that.
Before she leaves the room, she tucks this little button under my hand, and I'm always afraid I'm accidentally going to do it, because I have never once panicked. I mean, I check completely out. It's an out-of-body experience. I am not in the room with myself when it's going on, but I'm always afraid I'm going to accidentally fall asleep and twitch and hit that button. But you do have a panic button if you are worried about lying there with needles in you.
No, any treatment that involves lying down, I'm all for. I might just book an appointment just to come take a nap on your table. That would be amazing.
Just a nap pod.
I've been begging for the treatment plus nap package, so that when my treatment is over, then I can just sleep for 20 or 30 minutes, because it's so relaxing.
Oh, but I'm going to have to try it. And I definitely...
You gotta.
Yeah. I'm curious. Well, we'll probably have to talk afterwards. My mom's been having a lot of trouble with sciatica, and she's tried just about everything else. And I feel let's try one more thing.
Yes,
absolutely.
So aside from the acupuncture, you've got the massage services also.
Mm-hmm.
And what else could we take advantage of there? Are those the primary buckets?
No, we actually have, we have acupuncture and massage. We have manual stretching. Then we have a craniosacral and Reiki therapist. We have an infrared sauna, and we have a cold plunge.
Oh my gosh, cool.
And then we do have another company that works with us that does all the vitamin injections, vitamin IVs, Botox fillers, the whole shebang. So they're a little bit separate, but they're out of our clinic.
So how does that work then? If someone is just like, something's not right, I don't even know what it is. Do you do an initial evaluation, decide what mix of all those things they need?
Absolutely. Yeah. People can come in and just schedule an initial consult. I've done them over the phone. I've done them via email. And they're like, I have this problem going on. Can you tell me the best route? And those usually go through me just because I know everybody's specialty, all of that. And then I kind of help them decide. And sometimes it's a combination of, start here. Let's see how you respond to that treatment. And then we'll move to XYZ.
So you've got two of us. We only fit one demographic of the 50-ish year old women, the menopause ladies. We've got all different ages that listen, but I'm curious if you, at this day and age, what common things are you seeing patients, or do you call them patients, clients? How do you refer to them?
All of them.
Okay.
We don't have a specific term. So we do work. A lot of our patients are injury related or pain. CrossFitters are a big part of our clientele, people that work out, anything weightlifting. We do get a lot of post-surgery patients to help with swelling, lymphedema. We take care of all of that. Sadly, we have a lot of kiddos that are now starting to come in with neck and shoulder pain, just the phones, the computers, all of this is tightening up.
Oh my goodness.
So we have coined a new term called tech neck, and it's that, everything being forward. The kids are starting to get a little bit more of that hump earlier and earlier. So we have started working with kids earlier and earlier on neck and shoulder pain, and also anxiety. Anxiety has been a huge kick up, I would say, over the last 5 to 6 years.
I bet.
Yeah. Probably for all age groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like some of us are starting to feel it creep back up again right about now.
I know. Especially as I'm like, ooh, does my kid have a tech neck?
Yeah, it's, but it's everybody now. When you say you don't have pain, I guarantee you everybody has some type of neck and shoulder tightness just because everything we do is forward. The computers, the phones, even when we sit, a lot of times, if you're stressed and tension, your shoulders naturally come forward.
Yeah.
Talking about this, and I feel myself trying to stretch and lean
like,
back and get taller. I'm like, because I'm sitting here kind of hunched over.
I was just talking to some friends about this, and I don't know if it's a woman thing or if it's a woman with double D cup thing, but I mean, I think I've also done that besides the tech, besides the stress, because it feels really weird as a woman to be like, here they are, world. And I don't know. It's just a weird thing to stand with correct posture. You feel like you're posing. But I did just go, and one of my friends was going back to work after maternity leave, so we celebrated with a little spa day, and I got a massage, and that lady she probably needed a massage after my massage. She literally, it was the first time someone ever got up on the table and she was kneeling on my butt and doing stuff. I needed to recover from it the next day, but she was saying that very much. She's like, I can tell you are
forward
doing this. And granted, there's probably, I could list 20 things that do that, but mostly as I'm walking throughout the day, it is just because, I don't know, growing up, we were not necessarily taught to just be like, throw those shoulders back and get the girls out kind of thing. So I don't know. I guess
I don't know. I think women, a lot of times we make ourselves small.
Absolutely.
For whatever reason. That's probably different reasons for all of us, but something about us doesn't want to take up space. And it's just something we have to unlearn. Take up the space. And if you got double D's, let them have their space. I want to talk a little bit about this. I mentioned this to you, Charlene. We can't talk about services like this without talking about the great privilege it is to be able to get them. I feel very fortunate that I have access to this. You take insurance, which is amazing. So my insurance covers some of it. I have this crazy high deductible plan, so it covers less of it at the moment. But last year when I had a major surgery, my treatments at the point were free for a while to me. So that is a privilege. I have that insurance. I'm able to utilize it. I'm able to pay the copay that I need to pay right now. Are you seeing trends where Western medicine is starting to embrace these kinds of treatments and more people will have access through insurance? Are there ways out there for someone who maybe doesn't have the greatest insurance to find some sort of care like this?
Absolutely. So unfortunately, it is a slow go with insurance companies covering it, but they are, even in the 10 years that I've been in practice, more and more insurance companies are covering it. And one of the big forefront leaders is Medicare. And a lot of insurance companies go off of Medicare guidelines. Now, Medicare does cover acupuncture now, but here's the kicker. They don't cover it if it's done by an acupuncturist. So
what?
We have lobbyists that are working to overcome that, but Medicare is now covering acupuncture, which means everything else will start to fall in line and become more available. The VA now has acupuncturists on staff, and we all know the VA is horrible about timely manner in getting people the care that they need. So the VA is now starting to contract out to other acupuncturists that can take TriWest and TRICARE. So although it is a slow process, we are making a lot of headway for that to become available to more people. And if they can't afford our treatments are more 1-hour treatments with an individual, so they are on the pricier end. There are a lot of acupuncturists, and we're going to incorporate this into our clinic, hopefully by the summer, where you can find community acupuncture places. So these are places where it's not as you can't do all the cupping and all the other stuff that we do in a one-on-one treatment, but you would walk into a setting where there's like anywhere from 5 to 6 chairs set up, and all the acupuncture is done elbows down and knees down. And we can do the acupuncture in a group setting. So then you're not charged as much because the acupuncturists can make up that revenue because they're treating 6 people at once. So a lot of those are done on a sliding scale.
So it's almost more like a mani-pedi setup where you're all in this communal area. Interesting.
Absolutely. So there are clinics like that where you can make it more affordable, but we are making headway. It's just really slow.
Yeah. So I want to go back to this just briefly because this is not a podcast about insurance, but insurance drives me bananas. If Medicare is not covering acupuncture done by an acupuncturist, what do they want people to do? What are they covering?
There are chiropractors that are trained in acupuncture,
right?
And there are MDs that are trained in acupuncture. So they are actually Medicare providers, so they can bill.
Oh.
So the thing is, I actually cannot to bill Medicare, not to get too detailed, but you actually have to have like a certain ID number. Yep. I can't even apply for an ID number because acupuncturists can't be providers through Medicare.
Got it.
Interesting.
So it's a whole thing. And it breaks my heart because those are some of the people that need acupuncture the most.
Yes.
So, and I've just learned how much Medicare is driving other, like I had to get compression garments and it was all messed up. I don't have Medicare, but Medicare changed something and all the other companies are following suit and everything's a disaster.
Absolutely.
And anyway, someone I'm sure has a podcast about health insurance and we need to go listen to it because it's a freaking mess.
Don't get me started. I'm very interested about this. I was going to ask just about starting a business, like a brick and mortar business, but I still want to talk about that. But as someone who has a daughter who's very interested in maybe pursuing physical therapy or this round and very interested in health and all these health and wellness, very curious how one becomes an acupuncturist or anything around Eastern medicine.
Absolutely. So Austin actually has a school down in North Austin for acupuncture, but it is, like I said, it was a lot more intense than I actually planned on going back to school for. But our curriculum that I went through in Colorado is a 3.5-year program all year round. So it is 9 trimesters. And with that, you learn all the acupuncture points, all the Chinese massage, all the herbs, treatment protocols, diagnosis. We actually have to learn pharmacology also to make sure none of our herbs interact with medications that people are taking and the counteractions of all of those. But yeah, it is an intense school. It's a university. So it's not a bachelor's degree, but you have to have certain prereqs done
Mm.
in order to go. And then it is full on 3.5 years. And that includes your clinicals though. So we did do clinical rotations. And so that does include your clinicals.
It's amazing when you go in and say, so this hurts. And also, Charlene's amazingly patient because I never walk in and say, well, it's my shoulder. It's tight right here. I'm always like, well, my shoulder's tight right here and I'm not sleeping and I have a lot of anxiety and I'm also a little constipated and I feel sort of tight. Like I list 1,000 things and she's like, we got it.
And she
It's
probably
fine. We got
touches a
it.
part of your elbow and is like, it's all right there.
Right. And she will put a needle somewhere and I have at times felt something somewhere else in my body at that moment. But more often than not, I leave there and I'm like, oh, like this place that was tight is loosened up. And there wasn't necessarily a needle there. So it's really fascinating at what understanding of how things are all connected.
It is all connected. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how you start to pursue a career. But it's one thing to have the degree or to have this certification and then to actually start a business. So
Yeah.
I mean, especially this is not something you can do virtually. You can't do
No.
I mean, you can do the consultation like you said, but this
Yeah.
is definitely hands-on. AI is not going to be taking your job anytime soon.
Mm-mm.
So what is that process like? That's so intimidating to me. Anytime we talked in the last episode about signing a lease for my daughter's apartment next year, and even that I got a little tense about. So what does that look like when you're starting a brick and mortar business?
So starting that is, I would say the first thing you have to do is always have your support system. And that's not necessarily a business support system. It's everything on the personal side because it is more work than you could ever imagine. And it takes a lot of energy. And if you don't have that support system, I can tell you right now, in the 3 years that we've been open here, I've wanted to at least shut down 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot. So that support system is the biggest piece for me, having that, but really looking for the demographic that you want to work with, where they are situated. And then especially this clinic that I opened. So when I was at the chiropractic office, it was just me. I rented one room. I didn't have any crazy overhead. And it helped that I was able to build the business like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I opened this clinic, my clientele literally just followed me down the road. But, you know, like you said, with the apartment lease, I was locked into a 3-year lease here. And, you know, I'm downtown Round Rock. My rent for my building is 3 times the amount of my mortgage.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
It's terrifying.
So it is terrifying. But really looking for, you know, to get started is where do you want to be? What's the clientele you want to work with? And then really finding out the logistic of like, how much room do you actually need? Because you can start too small and outgrow the space too quickly, or you can start too big and then, you know, have to pay for overhead that you're not using.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really fine tuning, working with someone who's done a brick and mortar business before in that industry or in a similar industry to help you get a grasp on all of that. But it's terrifying. And find a coach, find a coach, find a coach, find a coach.
Yes. We want to talk about that. How did you find a coach? What did you look for?
One of the big things for me was, you know, I needed a coach that didn't necessarily have the skills that I did. I don't need somebody to tell me how to do acupuncture. I needed somebody to help me structure my business, what type of clinic I was looking for. And then also somewhere that I still fail and I'm working on is the social media. I am not good at social media. I am not consistent with it. I am not knowledgeable about it. And so that's kind of where that came into play. And also somebody that's,
I don't relate to that at all. So bad at the social media.
Yeah.
I did a post today, Missy. It looks like someone's grandma did it. Anyway.
But, yeah. So really just finding somebody or a coach that excels somewhere where you're lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that was Charleen and Brock's Marketing Impact Academy, talking about finding your niche, honing in on that, looking for your ideal clientele and expanding from there. Because like I said, I didn't need the acupuncture help. I needed the building, the clientele and the practice and the social media help.
So what does that coaching, the cadence of that look like? Is it really heavy up front and then you have like a maintenance that you meet with them on a regular basis, or are they regular part of your life? How does that work?
So regular part of my life, but a lot of their academy and their clinics are all done virtually at your own pace. So there are times when I have downtime that I'll go through several classes and courses. And then I do like that I can go back and revisit when I need to, but then definitely the weekly check-ins, the monthly check-ins, all of that can be tailored to what I'm working on at the time.
Yeah, and they help with things like the financial side of it. I can't just this idea of having to bill and get people to pay you and deal with insurance and plan that out so that you have the money you need to pay your rent on this 3-year lease. Like, did someone walk you through all of that?
So not necessarily the business coach and that, and I hate to say it, but a lot of that's been trial and error. And I've learned the hard way over the last 10 years. My brother and my mom were both accountants, so I had some guidance on that. But I learned the old school way by trial and error. And I still, to this day, I'm like, why am I doing this on my own? Who's letting me do this on my own? So
that reminds me, our taxes are due this week, Missy. I need to do that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Who was it that we just had on? Well, we didn't just have on. We just released the episode for recently that was talking about fractional CFOs. So that's probably similarly, I mean, you have the business coach for certain things, but then have this more of the accounting support.
Yeah.
So it takes a village. It takes a village of professionals. So I was curious. It sounds like it's been a real roller coaster. What are some lessons that, like, looking back, you wish you had known or that you had done differently?
One of the big things that I still struggle with to this day is when I did my own thing, it was just me for 7 years. That was my business. I had no knowledge or preparedness for managing a team. And that is probably what I still struggle with to this day. So depending on what your business is going to look like, taking those steps to learn. I did not do enough education. I did not do enough prep on what it would take to actually manage a team. I thought everybody would come in and do their job. No big deal, and that is not the case whatsoever. So that I wish I had more forewarning of.
Yeah.
And then
I don't think you're alone. I think it was Lovey AJ. Is that, what's her name? Lovey.
Lovey.
So I think it was Lovey that I saw a post from yesterday that it was, I'll have to share it. It was basically, she said, sometime I'm going to write a book that captures over the years the tens of thousands of dollars that I have lost from employees that did not, they didn't sign the thing right, or they didn't check the box, or they didn't do this, or they left some client engagement, in a bad situation that ended up harming the business. And just people who don't care for your business as much as you do, which, I mean, I guess is natural. It's your baby, but you're not alone. And she's like smarty pants, knows everything, millions of followers, writes all these books, and it still happens to her. So yeah, I can imagine for any small business owner, managing a team like that can be a real challenge.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
But we do I know that some people are listening and they are too far away to take advantage of this. So we recommend finding someone in your community that has these services. But for people who can get to Round Rock or live in Round Rock, do you have any promotions or events that are coming up that you want to share with our audience?
We do. So right now, for the start of spring, we are running a promotion that is $60 for any 60-minute treatment at our office.
That's great.
So for a 1-hour treatment, we're doing it at $60. And then we just launched a huge campaign last week that we are bringing in an amazing therapist that is going to work on cryotherapy toning. So it is a permanent fat loss using cryotherapy. So there's no downtime, there's no surgery, anything like that. Just helping people if they want to lose a couple inches before summer. And it's a pretty cool treatment, and it also helps with body inflammation and all of that good stuff. So we are launching that, and we have some specials going on with that as well.
Yeah, and if it sounds like voodoo magic, I did it. I took advantage of a entry price and did a session, and I lost 2 inches around my waist. 2.
What?
Yes.
Where does this stuff go?
I don't know. You pee it out, basically, right, Charlene? Basically,
Yeah.
you're just the fat cells, flush them out.
Yeah. So you actually, when you freeze them, you create damage to the fat cells, and then it creates what I call fat trash. And then your body, with a lymphatic drainage, we use an infrared sauna, a vibration plate, that your lymphatic system helps to flush all those out.
Oh, I
It's
want
so
to
crazy.
flush
So
them
I'm
all
saving
out.
up my dollar so I can do like it's multiple treatments. But yeah, I did an intro thing and thought it was amazing. And it's short. It takes no time, and it sounds like it would be really cold, and it's not cold. But it doesn't last very long. So it's not miserable. You're not uncomfortable during it.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it's over.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So now I have another question for people who are outside of our area. What should people be looking for when they are looking for a practitioner to make sure? I mean, is there some seal of approval or accreditation or certification that they should be making sure people have?
Absolutely. So, besides 3 states, Texas being one of them, because Texas likes to be an oddball, most
That's for sure.
states require that the acupuncturist is nationally certified. So we usually have a national certification, and then usually have a state or local certification. So definitely making sure that your acupuncturist is nationally certified. And all that you can look up online. You can go to the National Acupuncture Association and search for a practitioner and make sure that their license is valid.
That's
Great.
very, very good advice. You don't want to go
Yes.
to a quack. I mean, even though the needles are tiny, you still don't want somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, just
Yeah.
randomly
Absolutely.
sticking them.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. I think I might be being converted. I'm not necessarily afraid of needles, but I'm afraid of the unknown.
Right.
Yes. So
Right.
this has calmed a lot of fears. I think I'm ready to give it a try. And I don't even necessarily have anything that hurts except for my crippling anxiety and just and dealing with life. But other than
Yeah.
that,
I mean, I
um,
think it's been instrumental in my sleep improving. Like
oh,
my sleep improvement has been a slow and steady process, but I think this has really been part of it. And for the longest time, I wasn't having trouble falling asleep, but I was having trouble staying asleep. And yes, I still wake up, but I wake up and just sort of assess that like it's still nighttime. I've got to go back to sleep, and I'm back to sleep, which is amazing.
okay.
Amazing. And I think this is part of it. Like, so you don't have to be hurting to go
Yeah.
in. Like, there's a lot of your body systems that need a little tweaking now and then. And
Hmm.
acupuncture is a great way to do it. And then, of course, at the point, you can also follow that up with I sit in the sauna sometimes, which feels amazing. I fell asleep in there yesterday, as a matter of fact.
I'm sensing a theme.
I know. I mean, it's awfully hot to fall asleep, but it's Bluetooth connected. And so I put on the book I'm listening to,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, I woke up and thought, wait, how did he get there? What happened? What's
Oh
going
my
on?
gosh, that's me. That's like when I was reading Over Story and I was like, how did everybody end up in the top of a tree? I don't
Yeah, I was really like, wait, we're driving where now to do what? I don't know. I've got to go back and figure out how that happened. But yeah, there's all these other things going on at the point that work together, and the massage is really wonderful. So I highly recommend finding somewhere in your community that can offer this to you. It's
Awesome.
worth
Well,
it.
and since we have a lot of people listening in our community, before we go to the Look, Listen, Learns, can you share like your website or where people can find you really easily?
Absolutely. So on any social, it's just at The Point Wellness. And then our website is thepointwellness.com.
All right. So with that, let's jump into some Look, Listen,
Yeah.
Learns.
Wow, we
And
did
for
so well
new
on
listen,
time.
what'd you do?
We did really well on time.
I know we're amazing. And we also wasted a lot of time, so we're
I
doing
know.
extra
Sorry.
good. We're still getting back into the group. We've had a
We
few
really
months off.
are.
Oh, okay. Now I got to stop laughing. Almost. Okay. So it is time for our Look, Listen, Learns. And for new listeners, welcome and thank you for being here. At the end of each show, we spend a couple minutes with our Look, Listen, Learn segment where we share all the things that we're either reading or watching or learning about. And we do not like to put our guests in the hot seat first. So, Missy, what are you Look, Listen, Learning this week?
Okay, well, I was going to talk about a book that I'm reading, but I'm not finished with it yet, so I'm shelving that. We're going to talk about that when I've finished it. I can't wait to talk about it. So instead, I am looking at the new season of Somebody Feed Phil, which
Oh,
is my
that's right.
favorite I love Somebody Feed Phil. Either you don't watch it, do you?
No, but
Susanne?
you've
No. Have you
mentioned
ever
it
watched it,
before.
Charlene?
I'm writing it
No.
down.
So great. It's on Netflix. And Phil Rosenthal is a TV producer. He's, I think, done some acting. He was involved in Everybody Loves Raymond. Like it was loosely based on his life. And so, but now he has this show. He travels the world and he talks to people about the food where they are. And every show has a tearjerker moment. It's also really funny. And he has a charitable component as well. But it's just fascinating to watch where he goes. And it makes me, of course, want to get on an airplane. Pretty much every episode makes me want to get on an airplane. But there's a new season, super fun. So we've been watching a show or two every night, and it's not a very long season, so we're almost done, which makes me sad.
How many seasons are there?
I think this is the seventh.
Oh, okay. So
Oh,
I
wow.
think so. And early on, his parents play a big role, and it's adorable. Like he calls them from wherever he is, so there's a video chat, and it's really, really adorable. So it's great. It's just like one of those shows that makes your heart happy and also makes you really hungry and could be expensive if you buy a plane ticket to everywhere he goes. So I'm watching that. And then I've been watching this show that I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that I'm watching, that I've been watching Resident Alien. Anyone even heard of it?
No.
Okay. Netflix was like, you might like. I don't know why Netflix thought I might like it.
Because they know you.
I guess it's kind of creepy, but it's based, I guess, on a comic book, and I'm not a comic book person, so I don't know. But it's about an alien who ends up on Earth and gets really involved in this little town. He's able to look like a person, but gets really involved in everything that's going on in this little town. And it's very funny, but it's also kind of creepy at times and also a little sad at times. And like I'm hooked.
Is it a new show?
It's in its third season now. So like
Okay.
I am caught up and I'm now watching week by week as it comes out in season 3. And I can't believe no one in my family can believe I'm watching it. No one wants to watch it with me. And I'm like, y'all, it's really funny. Like the alien is really funny. So I don't know. If you just need something a little different than what you've probably been watching, check out Resident Alien on, I want to say I
Something.
started it on Netflix, but now I'm having to finish it on maybe Peacock. Like the
Oh.
Netflix doesn't have the current season. So I'll find it and put it in the show notes where I'm watching the current season, but I had to flip over to another. And I liked it that much that I was like, I'm out of seasons. I have to, where do I get the next one? I
Oh
have
my
got to go.
goodness. Okay. Well, you know what? Chris is out of town, so maybe I'll try it. So it's not because I can't watch
Yeah.
any of our shows that we watch together.
Right.
So I need something
Then you'll
else.
get in trouble. That's kind of
Mhm.
how I started this one. Like there was something Mark and I were wanting to watch, and I had a day where I just was chilling. I needed something on in the background. I'm like, I'll try this Alien. Why not? So that, and then I'm listening to Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt.
Oh, I love that
Oh,
one.
so good. And I'm listening to it. I have not read it, but I still, without having compared the two, I would say listen
The
because
octopus
there's
narrator.
yes, there is an octopus who talks, and yeah, it's so great to hear it in his voice. So I highly recommend listening to that. And ironically, there was briefly a talking octopus in Resident Alien. So talking octopi are part of my world right now.
Maybe that's how you got algorithmed.
Maybe.
My
I don't know what
thing
the
is
universe is
octopi.
sending me, but the universe is sending me octopi. I don't know why. We'll figure it out. If I find out, I'll let you know. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. What about you, Charlene?
So my look is the hubby and I try to have a show that we watch together, and we are definitely behind, but we are trying to finish up Succession.
Love.
So that is what we are doing. And then one of my other favorite looks right now is my little one is 6. And this is the first time she's really trying something that she's passionate about as far as a class or activity goes.
Uh-huh.
And she just started cheerleading, and it just
Aw.
melts my heart that she is so passionate about it. So that is my other look. Like I just love watching her get excited and really find passion in something that she wanted rather than something mommy and daddy put her in.
Yep.
Yeah. It's pretty
So
great.
that my listen is I am really trying to experiment right now with binaural beats and
Ooh.
you know, alpha waves versus beta waves versus all of that, and how my brain responds to them, because everybody responds differently. So that's really been what I've been playing with recently, and it's
You'll
kind of
have to
fun.
give
And
us some links that we can put
Yeah.
in show notes for like where you
Absolutely.
found good ones.
Yeah, because
Yep.
I have a mix of them that I listen to, but I think it's weird that I actually start to recognize the patterns now. So I need some fresh beats.
Yep. And then my learn is I am a big fan of the Huberman podcast.
Me too.
So I listen to it twice, but his podcasts are always so long, I have to take them in chunks.
Yes.
But we recently put a cold plunge on our patio here at the point, and I've been doing it for about 6.5 months now. So I'm going through a lot of his research on cold plunging and cold and heat exposure.
Interesting.
That's the next thing I'm trying at the point is the cold plunge.
I've got a friend who lives in Portland that's been doing that just in her pool because it works there. And she'll do a picture every morning, and every once in a while she'll have a bunch of friends in the background that she drug along with her. And I'm just like, oh, I love heat so much. But I guess you can follow it by heat, right? Can you warm back up afterwards?
Yep. So we do the cold plunge followed by the infrared sauna.
Okay. So you get to warm back up.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll sell me on that. That's that I'll do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's a lot of, we didn't get into it and we don't have time to get into it, but there's a lot of interesting science behind what that does to your body. And it's really supposed to be great for aging and bone loss and all kinds of crazy things.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting.
Oh my gosh.
Well, what about you, Susanne? What are you listening, learning?
Well, I'm going to keep going on this health thing we're talking about because I've been looking at this book. I think it's called Adrenal Transformation Protocol. I did not bring it up here, but I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I had a very exciting adventure in college where my body decided to attack my thyroid. And so I just have been chugging along for the past, 40 years? Or no,
not that many yet.
But, all my thyroid supplements and all those things. But I've just, especially with menopause and changing body, just realizing that there's probably more to be doing to address this than just, taking the thyroid supplements. So trying to get smarter about the things that I'm eating, not aggravating it. So according to this book, a lot of things that I eat, not even just junk food, but it's like, oh, you should try eliminating oatmeal. I'm like, no, that's my magic food that I do for everything. And my yogurt that I like to mix with my oatmeal. But I don't think it means you can't have it forever, but it kind of starts with this elimination diet type of thing to try to figure out what your issues are. But one of the other things that came out of it is even if you're going to just keep eating whatever you want, to start using some supplements like ginseng and you're going to have to help me pronounce this one, the ashwagandha and maca and some other things. So now I've been researching that. That opens up a whole nother can of worms. Like we were saying, like, how do you find a trusted acupuncturist? I feel like, how do you find trusted, suppliers of all these different supplements to make sure that they're not mixing other weird stuff in there? Right, so yeah, if you have any tips along those lines, I'm open, because I think that, we've talked about when I was having a bunch of aches and pains and I had a doctor who recommended just taking, what was it, cumin? Does that sound right? No,
cumin. Was, turmeric and curcumin.
It was the turmeric. Yeah. And how shocking it was that just cured me. I'm like, really? I could have just had a bunch of curry and this is bonkers.
Delicious, and I don't hurt anymore.
So I'm very curious to see what these things can do. But I'm also curious from a health expert's point of view. Would you recommend then trying one? I'm afraid that if something works, I'm not going to know what works. Do you usually recommend being like, okay, I'm going to try the ginseng, and then if that's good, I'll work something else in? Or I know that you were saying that there's some things that mix them all together for you just for convenience sake. So what do you recommend?
So usually when you're looking at something, when you're looking at thyroid inflammation, anything like that, sometimes you do have to take a combo because they're synergistic. So they all work together and they work on different things. I wouldn't be as worried if you were taking 3 supplements that are supposed to do the exact same thing, then that's a problem. But, usually with thyroid, we have one for inflammation. We have one for the actual thyroid gland. We have one for the libido, and we have one for the energy, and those can all work synergistically. So as long as there's improvement, we don't worry too much about which one is it. But if you were doing 3 for inflammation, or 3 for something, then you only do 1 at a time to see what's actually working.
Oh, okay. See, I'm
Okay, so
glad I
pay
had
very
this
close attention
look.
to what they're supposed to be doing for you.
Yeah.
That's
Got
good
it.
advice.
Okay, I'm hitting you up after this.
Uh-huh.
Get some information. Let's see. What am I listening? I am listening to way too many news podcasts, and I am not going to survive this election cycle. So I just need to stop. I need to stop. Someone come take my phone away from me.
I know. I think I'm
And
entering the no more news phase because it's
I'm
just, I mean, like my stomach is just knotted up.
I feel like there's a duty to become like to be an informed citizen, but I
Right.
also like I need to know what that line is between being informed and just being a nervous wreck about the state of the world. So
Hmm. Right.
I don't know. I do need a little
No.
bit of numbing, I think, but especially now that I'm not drinking, I'm like,
Right. I
uh,
have no vices left,
I
and the news is
know.
really horrible.
You can only walk so much.
Yes.
And when I walk, I listen to podcasts. So maybe I'll just listen to binaural beats while I walk.
Yeah. Or some music. Find some good
Yes,
music.
I'll find some new music. Let's see. Learning. Oh, I just had a fascinating month at work because I don't know if I've complained about this before, but since I bill based on my time, since I'm a contractor, it can be really tricky to be super accurate, or maybe as accurate as
Yes.
I want to be with the time
It's
that I'm
hard.
billing my clients for. And so one of the features on Paymo, which is what I use for my invoicing and time tracking, is an actual like timer,
Mm.
which at first I was like, oh, that's going to make me a nervous wreck. Like it almost feels like you're going against,
Da,
you
da,
flipped
da,
over
da, da.
the
Yeah.
hourglass and now you're trying to, but I've actually found it to be really grounding and like also make my time more intentional. So,
Hmm.
because part of the reason I had to use it is because usually I do my time in 15-minute blocks and I can do 100 things in a 15-minute block. And I was
Right.
recognizing that. And so now if I'm switching between tasks, I need to like recognize that I'm doing that and like, okay. And it makes me take a little pause because I have to go back to my timer and like turn off the last task I was doing and then go back to it and set it for whatever the next task is going to be. And some of the tasks, I mean, it's ridiculous. My time, my invoice for the past month was like 10 pages because some of them are like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Right.
But, over the course of the month, they add up to be normal chunks of time. But it made me feel so much better that the accuracy was there. And also, it probably saved me at least 15 to 20% of my time a day because I caught myself at the end of the day and I wasn't doing this on the book. So I wasn't getting paid for this part where I would be going back and being like, okay, I know I was sitting at my desk from 1 to 2. What was I working
Right.
on? And I would have to
Mhm.
go look through our project management thing to be like, okay, what did I submit during that time?
Yep.
I was even going back into my like internet browser history to be like, what
Mhm.
website was I on during that point to see like
Feel
what
that.
I was working on. And now at the end of the day, I hit
You can
stop
just walk
at
away.
that last task I was working on and it's done. And it was such a beautiful thing. I did it for the whole month because I was like, surely I'm going to get tired of this. But it's still, and I think the number one benefit though is just it's helping me be much more aware of all that task switching and to thinking about ways that I can batch tasks together so there isn't so much switching and just being more conscious of the way that I'm using my time and also just a way smarter use of my time to not be spending another hour after the workday unpaid trying to figure out what I was doing all day.
Yeah. Oh,
So
it's my least favorite part of being a contract employee is tracking that.
yeah,
It's stressful to me and I want to get it right. And you don't want to be overcharging your client or undercharging.
yeah.
Like you don't want to not get paid for what you're doing. But yeah, it's hard. So, oh, I love
No,
this.
to the minute I have it. And it makes me, and again, since I am so conscious of like making sure that I'm being super accurate, because there were
Hmm.
times when I'd have a block of time where I knew I had not gotten up for a chunk of time. I knew I was working and couldn't figure out, and I just wouldn't bill for it because I was like, well, I'm not just going to make it up. So, so no, it's good for me. It's good for the clients. It's good for everything. So yay, Paymo. I keep on saying Paymo is like our new Canva. I just keep on, keep on talking about
brought
it, but
to
I
you
love
by
it.
Paymo and
Yeah.
Canva.
I'm a big fan, and it's super, super helpful. And yeah, so that has been my learn that I can make it a whole month using this. And I have now, I set myself up as a client so that when I'm not at work, I'm also tracking my own time on there. So I have it broken down into like
Genius.
Carrying Hope podcast. So I'm doing my own time tracking as I'm doing my other tracking. So
You're so fancy. I may
I
need to
am
get
so
this.
fancy. I know. Remember when we were doing all the Laura Vanderkam time tracking stuff?
Yep.
I was like, that's ridiculous. No one could possibly do that for their whole life. But it turns out it actually, I mean, I wouldn't do it if I was just like
Not
still
billing.
doing stay at home stuff. If I had to run back to my computer every time that I'm going to do, change a diaper now. I'm going to do this now, or I'm going to go run to this teacher meeting or whatever.
Yeah.
But since I'm literally just sitting there anyway, in front of the computer, that's been really helpful. So that's me.
All right. Well, we're about 2 minutes away from our timer.
No, I didn't
Speaking of
start till like
timers going off.
2:05. So we're
Okay. Oh, good. Good.
But we can say our goodbyes anyway.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for being here. I know you're really busy, Charlene, and you're probably running to go put needles in somebody the minute we're done. But I really appreciate you taking an hour out of your day for us.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Such a pleasure to meet you. And I think I'll be meeting you in person very soon.
Absolutely.
You can come
And
have a
if
whole
you-
field trip to this part of the world, Susanne, and you can.
Yes.
Oh,
We
my
can
gosh.
hang out and you can go get a treatment and
Oh,
we'll
we
make a day
totally
of it.
should do that. We
And
could
then
do
go
it-
across the
we-
street and get some coffee.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can bring back the tipsy ellipses for an episode.
We can.
Well, thank you again. This has been really
course.
great. And I am going to be hitting you up for my supplement information, get my inflammation down and figure out my junk. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you guys.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and ... podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and if you know someone else who could benefit from the episode, please be sure and share it with them. And while we're begging, please subscribe and rate us wherever it is you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in our show notes or over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the A-N-D spelled out. In between shows, find us over at the socials, including our private Mom and Community Facebook group. The links to that group and all of our socials can be found at momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you more than you know. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.